Good evening. The unimaginable horror of the 7th of October has shattered lives. It's also asked of us to hold unbridled pain and anger alongside reason and compassion. Ever since the horrific attack on Israel by Hamas terrorists, I've been in close contact, both personally and in my role as chair, with my colleagues in Israel and globally, as the New Israel Fund moved quickly to play our part to help the people and communities devastated by the Hamas attacks. This last week, I joined a call with the Forum for the Families of the Kidnapped and Missing. On the call, we heard from the sister of Romy Gonen, who was taken captive from the music festival. It was harrowing, listening to her sister recount the experience of being on the phone with her throughout the ordeal. We cannot unhear these horrific stories. They are a constant reminder that there can be no limit to the fight for every hostage to be returned to their loved ones now. Earlier this week, I was invited to a breakfast briefing. We heard from an organization that is working on the ground with Palestinian civilians who are caught up in the conflict between Israel and Hamas. When I walked into the briefing, I noticed a man standing alone. He looked preoccupied, haunted, just sad. During the introductions, with a distinctly Israeli accent, he introduced himself as Magen and simply as having been affected by the events in the south. What we didn't know in that moment was that his parents had been murdered by Hamas terrorists who attacked the small Israeli seaside village just a few miles from Gaza, where he and his 3 siblings were born. I didn't manage to speak to him again, but I've since read what he wrote in The Guardian 2 weeks after his parents, just 2 weeks after his parents were brutally murdered. In his pain, he wrote, "Our shared future is based on the belief that all human beings are equal and deserving of respect and safety. This is how I was raised and how I am raising my own children. In the long term, even if it's far away, the only real future is that of hope and peace." It's in the context of these painful and hope-filled words that I welcome you all tonight to our Together for Israel Now event. The nearly 500 people who are here tonight is testament to our shared need to find a space, to be together, and to hear something that is not simple. The excellent statement of Jewish values that has been signed by so many of us this week articulates what we are all struggling with. How do we hold this complexity? The complexity of our deep and unwavering belief, our deep love and unwavering belief in Israel's right to exist and to protect itself from terror, alongside the anguish of seeing a growing humanitarian crisis, loss of civilian lives, and destruction in Gaza. How do we listen to that heart-wrenching call from Magen, and in fact many of the victims' families, for peace, and at the very same time counter calls for unspeakable violence that we hear more often than we should? All of this as we experience an over 1,300% rise in reported anti-Semitic incidents in the UK. Right now, answers are painfully out of reach. Perhaps a little wisdom from Joe Biden when he arrived in Israel after the Hamas attacks in October. He said, "While you feel rage, don't let it consume you." And as we come together this evening, we must not let our rage consume us. Tonight, we will see what it means to choose humanity. For over 40 years, the New Israel Fund has partnered and supported hundreds of human rights activists and charities dedicated to equality, to defending democracy, and building really deep Arab-Jewish partnerships on which a truly shared society will be able to thrive. This is work that we do and continue to do. The strong, long-standing relationships that we have with people and organizations, and many of them are in the south. We have an office in Beersheba. It enabled our NIF colleagues to respond immediately after the Hamas attacks. the team moved quickly to provide for and to protect the most vulnerable people, those in the kibbutzim and also in the towns and Bedouin villages that border Gaza. These people are our friends, they're our partners, they're our NIF family, and we can be nowhere else but by their side. As the evening begins, I want to say a huge thank you to each and every one of our incredible New Israel Fund team, and also to Andrew Leake and the dinner committee, who have given new meaning to that term that we used a lot in the pandemic, to pivot. In under a month, they have reimagined what would have been our 16th Human Rights Award dinner, turning into what you will see and hear tonight. In these particularly difficult times, our NIF team, and more widely, our communal professionals and many lay leaders deserve our gratitude. We have seen courageous, thoughtful leaders mobilizing support for Israel across the community, while at the same time holding their own personal worries for themselves, their families, their friends, here and in Israel. I know that you all join me in saying an enormous thank you to them. I would also like to thank you, Jonathan. We couldn't think of anyone more able to guide us through this evening. What you have written and said in these past weeks has been hugely helpful in helping us navigate the complexities that we're all dealing with in these very dark times. I know that I'm one of many who are grateful for your wisdom and your compassion. I want to end how I began, with Magen's moving words, words that are all of ours, deeply rooted in our Jewish values. Our shared future is based on the belief that all human beings are equal and deserving of respect and safety. In the long term, and even if it's very far away, the only real future is that of hope and peace. Have a good evening.